Welcome to the New Music Alliance Radio Hour. We focus on great original music, both present and past, from the Western New England area. And that's music from New Haven, Connecticut and thereabouts, all the way through Western Massachusetts and Southern Vermont. And I'm Mark Sherry, here today with Vic Steffens. Hey, Vic.
Hey, how are you, kids? What's going on out there?
Doing great. The intro to our show was African Eyes by the late great sax player and Grammy Award winner Charles Neville and his son Khalif Neville from Huntington, Massachusetts. So Vic, we're really happy to have you here again. It's been a while. Vic is the producer and owner of Horizon Recording Studio in West Haven, Connecticut. You've recorded some great people there. Vic, tell us just a little bit, if you can, about your studio and your musical journey.
Well, I go back to the Beatles, and that's kind of what got me into it. And
were you the fifth Beatle?
I was, yes. Yes. Unfortunately, they stepped on me early on, so no. But I mean, that's what got me into it. I saw it. My sister and I, Christine Ullman, who was also a well-known performer, she walked into my room one day with a Life magazine and a picture of the Beatles in the back getting their MBE awards from the Queen. And she said, "Do you know anything about this?" I'm like, "I have no clue at all." And that just kind of started, we're here today literally because of that,
Mm-hmm.
I went through all of that. We had a band together. My sister and I had some very successful bands in the 70s. In the 80s, I started working more on the recording and production side of it. My mentor was this guy, Paul Lecca, who wrote the song Now, Now, Hey, Hey, Goodbye. And he produced Harry Chapin, Cats in the Cradle. He was a very successful producer from Bridgeport, Connecticut, who saw something in me, and he took me under his wing, and I worked with him until he passed away a few years ago. We were always joined at the hip to a certain extent. At some point, I started a home studio, one of the very first ones, right at the dawn of that home studio thing. I was involved in it, and I had one. And one day, a couple came by that had been sent over to me by a guy at another studio that I used to use to record bands, and they wanted me to do some demos, and it turns out that they owned a house in Wilton, Connecticut that was owned by Ace Frehley from Kiss. And it had a big studio installation in it. And for one reason or another, they had bought it. They were trying to do a real estate deal, but they couldn't sell the house. And they asked me if I would be interested in becoming a partner in starting a kind of a big recording studio there. And it was, 45 minutes from Manhattan, and it was gorgeous. We did it, and it was very successful, and that was going great until the short story is, the guy's wife decided that she wanted a divorce, and she got a divorce. She ended up owning the house and threw us out of the studio. In the course of all that, had located these people had contacted me from this studio in West Haven, Connecticut, which at the time was called Audio West, and they wanted to know if I'd be interested in moving up there and being partners with them. And we, so we worked some things out, and we did it, and it was very successful immediately. That was great, except that they were having drug problems, and they ended up losing the house. They went into foreclosure. So myself and the other partner that I had at the time, we actually were fortunate enough to be able to buy the house from the mortgage company with no down payment, because I didn't have any money. And but we ended up with it, and we're still here today. And we've just done so many things between now and then. I work with people like Sly Stone, Harry Connick Jr., I mean, Whitney Houston was here for a day, and some of that crew. Yeah, we've done a lot of different things, but my major goal in doing all of this was always to find bands that I loved that I could produce and work with. And so there's been a string of them over the years, some of whom you'll hear today. In the past, I mean, the first real good band I did was the band of Neighborhoods from Boston, an iconic band from Boston that I happened to get hooked up with, and I did a couple records with them. And in Connecticut, there was a band, the New Johnny Five from London, that was very successful at the time, and I did that. And just kept moving and moving and moving, and just trying to do as many things as I possibly could.
Yeah, great.
Twice I was given the New England Music Awards Producer of the Year. They have a New England Musicians Hall of Fame. They stuck me in that. which doesn't mean much to me in terms of that, but it does help let people know what we do, which is what's the most important thing. And shows like this. So that's my story.
Well, you've got quite a story, and we're going to be adding to it as well, I'm sure. And today we're going to concentrate on bands and individual musicians that you have worked with that are local to the Western New England scene. And we're going to start out with what do we got for our first block?
Well, let's see. I have Jeff Summa and the Roasters, which is a jam band that I did 18 months ago. I've done a lot of jam bands. I like them. They play live, which I love. Most of what I do is with live musicians. I try not to do a lot of the computer stuff. Not that I don't know how to do it. I did it early on, but I also found that I just didn't really like it all that much. So I spend most of my time with live musicians. So jam bands are great because that's what they do. And Jeff came by and we hit it off and decided to make a record together. And they're doing pretty well. I mean, they started to get out. Jam bands can tour and work much easier than a lot of other kinds of bands, not the pop bands. It's easier for them to get out there, largely because of the community that the Grateful Dead created over the years, which was the idea of we're going to follow these bands around. So they do this stuff, and once people latch onto your band, they'll follow you for a long time. So this song that we did with them is a song called Simple Song, which I actually chose because I like the song, but also because it's the shortest song on the record. Jam band songs are typically like 10 minutes long, and they eat up half our show. So, but this show is cool. It's a little different than some of the stuff. It's got a country flavor, got a pedal steel on it, which we did with the pedal steel player from the band Railroader. Did that for me, and he sent over some parts, and they worked out great. And the rest of it is just what they do. They play live, and it's a good song. Jeff's really good.
And we're starting out with
The Mighty Soul Drivers. I'll carry you home.
I'll Carry You Home. All right. Well, they're going to carry us home right now. Here we go. The Mighty Soul Drivers, and I'll Carry You Home.